On a recent trip to a party store, I found a few things that looked like they could be turned into a puppet or a prop. And it's always fun when you find these things in stores and they look like they could be fluorescent, which was the case on this day. I was at the party store and I found some Hawaiian leis because it's the beginning of summer and they were putting out a lot of beach party stuff. And these bright orange ones looked like they might be fluorescent. And I did have a little black light with me and tried to test them out, but the bulb was not working for some reason, so I didn't get to test them out. But they were only 99 cents or so a piece, so I decided to buy them, and I'd test them out when I got back home. I also found at the same store these little tiki cups that also looked like they would fluoresce, and so I decided to get a few of those because they were also 99 cents. And suddenly I started to have an idea for a puppet, which would be a full-bodied puppet, where we would make the arms and the legs out of those leis and make the head out of this little tiki guy here, so we could have a dancing Tiki Man Puppet for maybe a beach themed song or something like that. So, like I said, I wasn't able to test the items out before I bought them. Usually I'd want to do that, but I got them back, tested them out. They did fluoresce. The leis fluoresced very brightly, but the cup did not. It fluoresced, but not as brightly as the others. So I decided that I was going to have to paint it so that it would match the color of the others. So I painted it with some orange fluorescent spray paint. But what I did before I painted the cup was to take a handy-dandy Sharpie marker and color in some of the details of the cup, because I also noticed under black light these facial features didn't show up real well. So I wanted to color them in black so that it would really pop out under the black light. Luckily, fluorescent paint is transparent, so even when you make marks on something with like a Sharpie and then paint over it, you're still going to see those marks. Alright, so after we did that, we needed to drill some holes into our cup. So we've got a handy dandy drill here, and in the bottom of the cup I just put two little holes right around the middle of the cup. This is going to be where we put our a little tie to attach the leis to the cup. And what I did, I just got some little cable ties like this, and I put both ends through the holes. Now this is probably the hardest part of the whole thing, because it's very easy to get the first one in there, but it's hard to get the second one back in because my hand's too big to fit through the cup. So using some needle nose pliers, or in this case some scissors, to grasp that little thing and then turn it back up into the hole, which I won't show you here because it can be difficult to do. We'll come back when I've got that all done. Alright, there we go. We've got that in there. Now before I get too much further too, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to put one more hole in the bottom of this guy, right at the back of whichever side we're going to use as the back here. I'm going to put one hole in there. We're going to use that to put a rod through later on to help support the head. Alright, so now that we've got our ties through there, what we're going to do, we're going to loop this tie as loose as we possibly can, because what we're going to do now here, we need this to put through the leis to make the arms and the legs. Now let's move on to the leis here for a second. One of the things that we need to do here is we need to cut these leis so that instead of having a loop, we've got one long strand. So here's what I learned the hard way when I did this. Of course, all we have to do is cut right in the middle there. But the first time I tried this, I then found that the flowers started to fall off because now they had nothing to hold on to. They're just a string of flowers there, and if I leave that end open, they're going to fall off. So what I did then was just took some gaffer's tape and just put a little tab of tape on the end of each side of my row of flowers so that they wouldn't fall off. Of course, I need two leis for this, so I did this with both sets of flowers. Okay, there you can see the little tab of gaffer's tape that I just stuck on the end there so that my flowers won't fall off. Alright, now our next step is to put the lays through our little loop, which I've already done here. What we're going to do is we just slowly put the lay through our cable tie here so that eventually we have equal size of lay hanging down on each side. We should do the feet, whichever one we're going to use for the legs, I should say, first, and then we'll put the arms through next. Okay, now I have put the second lay through, so now we have 2 arms and 2 legs. And once we've done that, now what we're going to do is we'll take our cable tie and we'll tighten it up all the way so that we no longer have that big loop. And then what we can do is trim off the excess here with a pair of scissors. So now we have the basic puppet. We have 2 arms and 2 legs. Now we want to add some control rods to it and also some hands and feet. And I have one here that I finished who has some hands. What we did to make the hands was simply took some some scrap pieces of mat board, like what you use to frame your pictures with. I use it a lot for making shadow puppets, so I had a lot of it laying around. And I just cut the hand shape out of there with a little bit of a wrist as well, and then attached a rod, which I just made out of a coat hanger, covered that coat hanger again in gaffer's tape so that it won't show up in the black light, and then taped that to the little tab that we had at the end that's holding the flowers on still. So we did that on both ends so that we have little hands. We did the same thing down on the feet as well. We made little feet out of some scrap pieces of mat board. By the way, painted both of those with fluorescent spray paint. They didn't come in fluorescent orange. So painted those, attached rods again, and now we have hands and feet on our puppet. One more rod that we made on him is a main support rod for his head, which supports the weight of the puppet and can also give us some motion in the head. And the way that we attached that was with that 3rd hole that we drilled down in the bottom of the cup, put the rod up through there, and then I just used some gaffer's tape to tape that down. I bent the wire up in there and then taped it against the back of the cup. You could probably glue it if you wanted to, but I was doing this quickly, so I just taped it with some gaffer's tape. And there we have the basic puppet. We've got his hands, his feet, we've got a control for his head, and now you've probably figured out that this puppet can't really be performed by just one person. He would look kind of dull that way. It's going to take a couple of people working together, at least 2, probably 3 to do it. One person to control the head and support the weight of the puppet, which isn't very heavy, but still somebody needs to support it. Somebody then to control both the hands, and somebody to control both the feet, and then that gives you a wide range of movement. The puppeteers would be dressed all in black, with a black shirt, black hood, black gloves, and with the black lights on and in a dark room, they'll completely disappear, and we'll get a nice wide range of movement from the puppet. Another thing you might consider if you don't have as many people is to maybe rig up your main support rod so that it could somehow hook onto a puppeteer, maybe hook to something that they wear around their neck. Kind of like if you might have been in the high school band, you remember how a saxophone player has a thing they wear around their neck and that helps support the weight of the saxophone? Something kind of like that, where you can put something around your neck and then hook the puppet on so that it stays right in front of the puppeteer. Anyway, it's not a real high-tech puppet. It's nothing real fancy. The materials probably cost about $5 altogether. But with having a couple of these dancing around the stage in blacklight, it could be a really neat effect. So have some fun experimenting with that. Maybe come up with some other variations on it. And thanks for watching.